Hello everybody, my name is the TF Boy and welcome back to another Transformer TCG profile. Now as you can see in my hand, as well as from the title of the description, we're going to be taking another look at the Sentinels deck for Wave 3 that I personally have built. Now I know a lot of people had some weird quandaries with some of the stuff I did before, and if you haven't seen that video, don't worry about that. This is going to be pretty self-contained. You're not going to need to reference that. I'm going to put all the information you need for the deck right here. But as you can see, we are of course running the Sentinels, the 6 Sentinels, in our main deck, with the primary 3 being Optimus Prime, Ironhide, and Prowl. So these are going to be the 3 in our main team, primarily because we are primarily orange, primarily offensive, and of course our sideboard being, or not our sideboard, but on our KO area is going to be Hot Rod, Mirage, and Sunstreaker, which if you don't know, I just prefer the utility of these 3 versus the utility of these 2, and also these 2 have bowls, so a little bit more offensive power. You know, if you don't know, Hot Rod deals 1 damage, Mirage, you look at your opponent's hand, it's grab an action, and Sunstreaker allows you to draw a card. I love me some Sentinels, and that I personally use as a configuration, along with many others. This is generally the preferred way to do Sentinels. But anyways, before we get into the deck, let me talk about my sideboard option. And my sideboard option is going to be General Optimus Prime from Wave 3. Now, in alternate mode, he reads, and let me make sure this is in frame. Each of your characters has Bold 1 and Tough 1. And then in bot mode, he has Focus 1, along with Bold 1, Tough 1 for himself. So the idea being is that when you sideboard this Optimus for this Optimus, because they are the same star cost, you're not going to have these 3 in your KO area. So your team is just going to be these. This is more of a case for like if you need offensive power in your deck. So up against things, you know, maybe you're running something against something blue heavy that doesn't really have a lot of utility you want to disrupt. You just want to kill some fools. This is what you want to have. This is what General Optimus is for. So that's why he's in the sideboard. And I think he's a better sideboard. I originally had Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend in place of this for whenever, you know, if you wanted to go 2 out, you just take these 2 out and you put in Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend. That didn't work, and I know a lot of people had some weird qualms about that. I agree. In practice, it wasn't really as great as I thought it would be. But anyways, let's get into the deck. So we are going to set these 3 over here and set these guys over here as our preferred configuration. Now the deck itself hasn't had too many changes from a previous video, but there's a couple things that I will mention again for those that haven't seen it. So 3 zaps, you know, because dealing 1 damage is always good. I'm just gonna double check to make sure everything's in frame here. Good. Okay. Let's see, 3 Peace Through Tyrannies, because, you know, solid, basically a staple aggressive card. You want to have it in 3 aggressive decks. For Disruption, we run Security Checkpoints. I think this is very good with Mirage over here. If you start the game, or let's say your opponent goes first, and then you have your next turn, you can flip Mirage, and if your opponent just has 1 action and the rest are upgrades, well, guess what? Security Checkpoints get rid of their hand, which is pretty nice, honestly. Very good at Disruption. Now, it does, of course, sacrifice your hand, but you have Sunstreaker here to help you draw cards, which can be pretty good. 2 press the advantages, because I run into primarily Decepticons, and I just think this is a really good card otherwise. Let's see. 2 ramming speeds, because, you know, Disruption's always good. You know, maybe you got that utility you want to get rid of. Can't really go wrong with that. 3 Reckless Charge, just for when you really need offensive power. Let's see. 3 Espionages for, again, that disruption. If you instead of playing Security Checkpoint, if you look at your opponent's hand and see an upgrade or see another action you really don't want your opponent to have, you can use Espionage to pull it out, unless it's like a blank pip card. Then in which case Espionage can't touch it, and you just discard it with Mirage first. Like let's say your opponent has like Enigma and One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall. You want to discard One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall with Mirage, and then use Enigma, call it a green pip for Espionage, and discard it that way. One treasure hunt, just in case you need to find your upgrades. And let's talk about set upgrades. Two bashing shields, because armors are everywhere. People run armor. I don't run any armor outside of bashing shield itself, so that definitely helps a lot. And this deck doesn't have, like I said, I don't run any force fields or whatnot, just because I don't think they get value out at this point anymore. So the only armors, if I'm recalling, are just bashing shields. 3 static laser of Ironhide, because we have Ironhide, and it's a pretty good weapon. Probably the most broken card in the deck. 3 combat commands. If you don't know, it's if you have a Sentinel in bottom mode, you flip it to alt mode, then back to bottom mode, so you get to use their effect again, which can be really nice for either disruption, ping, or just drawing cards. 3 improvised shields, because again, this is a stable aggressive deck. Makes sense. And likewise, we're going to have 3 grenade launchers, just again, for that set aggression. Now, onto some new stuff from Wave 3. If you haven't seen my last video, I still have the 3 battery ramps. This is very, very good versus Combiner. If you can set it up against aerial bots, you can definitely delay them a turn before combining. And that can be pretty huge, because Superion can be a pain in the butt. I lost to a Superion the other day at a local event because I didn't have any removal for their armor, and they got their combination faster than I anticipated. And I wish I had drawn at least one of these, and I didn't, so it unfortunately didn't work out, but it's still very useful. Even against Insecticons, your opponent always wants to flip their Insecticons back and forth and whatnot, and if you can kind of disrupt them, especially with Shrapnel. I know this doesn't mitigate the 3 damage charge from Shrapnel, but if you attack him, force him to flip, your opponent has to decide, alright, well, if I flip my other Insecticon, Shrapnel's left there, and my opponent could KO him next turn. So it's a decision your opponent has to make, but it's definitely a very relevant one. And, Optimus Prime, either one, or Ironhide is a truck, so you can't put it on either of them. And then my personal favorite, the W5 Gyro Blaster. When the upgraded character battles, each character cannot flip more than 2 battle cards. Now, if you'll notice, when it comes to the attack value of this deck, there's no bold anywhere outside of the base Ironhide and Prowl. But I don't run supercharges or power punches. No, I don't. I like the Gyro Blaster a lot. This wins games. This will stop Dinobots. This will stop Firecons. This will stop cars. It's just so good. Even though it's a blank pip, even though it's a utility as well, which is a big deal. This is just incredible at stopping against other aggressive decks. Love this card. And we're going to keep it there. Now, in terms of sideboard stuff, like I mentioned with Optimus Prime here, if your opponent doesn't have a lot of bold, you can't sideboard out the Gyro Blaster, because you yourself, you're going to be giving these guys bold too, and that's probably going to be more beneficial, unless you're up against Firecons or whatnot. But hey, it depends. As for the sideboard cards, now, being as though I do like it whenever my Sentinels combine, but it doesn't happen very often, so just in case, one Enigma. Whenever you're up against these heavy blue decks, things like, again, Superion this could have been relevant in if I had ever gotten it. Blue Dinobots as well. People do run that crap, or I shouldn't say crap. People do run that deck and whatnot, and it's very annoying to face, but combination is a way you can power through it. Because Optimus Maximus is 9 attack base, and you can get that up to at least 10, 11, 12 plus. That's a lot of damage. You're going to kill some fools with that. But just one. I don't think any more is necessary, mostly because the actual additional effects of scrapping a weapon or armor, and again, by the time you combine, it's going to be a win condition anyway, and you don't want to be flipping green pips that you don't use. For additional poke, we have one shall stand, one shall fall. Again, this is used for picking up. This is great versus Insecticons. Turn 1, let's say your opponent flips Shrapnel. Turn 2, you can play one shall stand, one shall fall, and Hot Rod. And as long as you deal 3 damage to the Insecticon, they're dead. And that's fine. That's 100% fine with me. So I'm gonna try to keep this in frame here. I'm gonna put gyro up here. My mat's freaking out. Stay. Alright, whatever. One shall stand, one shall fall. We have I Still Function, which is great versus smaller decks. If you're up against a 2-wide deck, this can be very useful at getting a lot more damage. Let's say you're up against Optimus Nemesis, whatnot. Let's say they attack, you attack with Optimus Prime, they attack again with Nemesis Prime. So now you have Ironhide and Prowl to essentially attack whoever you want to. You can play I Still Function and get back one of your other guys and just go to town. Maybe you want Hot Rod just for damage, or maybe you want Mirage to get out because he has guaranteed Pierce 2. It's fine. It just gives you an additional attack and a little bit more damage. Very fringe, though. You definitely want to... trying to think what would be a good sideboard here. Probably... You could probably take out the batter range as an example in that specific matchup, because you don't want to flip their guys at all. And having the extra blue pips is not really going to matter whenever they're hitting for so much. Like, usually you're going to be out of range in most of their attacks. So you guys have like 12 health, they can do up to like 10, 11 sometimes. So you're going to be okay most of the time. So I'd maybe take out I Still Function or a Battering Ram for I Still Function in those matchups. And then the final card, and this is the new one I put in as well, in a place of I think I had a Flamethrower in here before, I can't remember. Reclaim. This is for the matchups where you need your utility upgrades. You need essentially any of these. Well, except for Improvised Shield. You need your Gyro Blaster, Ironhide, Bastion Shield, Grenade Launcher, Ramming Speed, or Combat Commands. This is very good. Now, it works pretty good in Double Shockwave, which is something we're going to look at. I did pull, let me get him over here, on my last event, a Major Shockwave, which we will look in later, but that's not what we're going to focus on now. Reclaim is very good in that because the new Shockwave allows you to look at your top card of your deck, and if it's a Decepticon card, you can just play it as though it was in your hand. That's great, but this also works okay in Sentinels as well. Let's say, it's your turn, the game's already done a couple turns, you have your action upgrade available, so you play Reclaim, you get, say, your Bastion, you put it on top of your deck here, then you take Sunstreaker, you flip him, and oh look, that Bastion Shield is now in your hand. There you go. And you can deal with any upgrade that you need. Like I said, if this is something I didn't have whenever I mentioned that Aerial Bots matchup, I wish I did, because that would have been a big deal to get me more of the battering rams. But again, if you need to stop your opponent from doing the bolt, if you need just raw power, armor disruption, utility, or just flip disruption, this is what this card does for you. It's a blue pip, which isn't ideal for the aggressive deck, but you're going to be wanting this for the utility. That's why it's in the sideboard. And if you need the utility, you don't need as much aggression. That's how I think. So, yeah. And I'm just going to stick good old Optimus right here. So, yeah, this is my Sentinels deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, I will be looking at Major Shockwave in the next video, hopefully. I hope you guys are actually enjoying this. I do appreciate the feedback you guys are appreciating. I noticed you're not taking too kindly, well, not too kindly, but you guys aren't watching as much of the new stuff as I post, mostly because I'm quite behind with it, and I can't always record in real time. Like, a lot of the stuff I'm doing ahead of time. But of course, being semi-relevant. I do want to make another update as well. I am going out of town starting on June 14th. Which is a Friday or Saturday, somewhere around that. The point being is that I won't be able to play as many games as I'd like to, but I'll still try to give deck profiles. I will still have that Shockwave deck list up sometime in the relative future. I want to try to stick to like 2 videos a week. I know that's probably not happening at this point, but I will certainly try to do my best. But yeah, this is my Sentinels deck list, with these being the sideboard and him being the sideboard as well. I hope you guys found this useful, and if you have any suggestions or other feedback, let me know. But this is so far what I've tested works really, really well. I haven't tried Reclaim as much as I'd like to. I only got 1 game with it, but man, getting that combat commands early. Like, I used Reclaim early in the game I tested, and just getting a combat commands to be able to use that a couple times to get in like 1 extra damage. I think I drew a card with it, or it was either one of these. Not important. Anyways, I'm gonna get going. You guys have a good day, and I hope you guys found this very useful. Let me know any feedback. The TF out.